Thank you, Madam Chair. There was one question that I forgot to pose. Prior to a couple months ago, there was I don't know, I don't want to call it a campaign promise, but for the lack of a better term, a campaign promise made by the Minister of TIAT and the Minister of ECIS as it pertains to the cooling system slash airco for the Lebby Scott Sports Auditorium. So I would like to know what the status on that promise is and bringing that to fruition, because as you know, there's a lot of activities being done right now at the LB Scott Sports Auditorium, and it's very hot. So that promise will come true it will be very advantageous for those who attend these events. Thank you.
Thank you, MP York. MP Otley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good day to the Honorable Minister of TIAT, his support staff, and those who may just be tuning in. Through you, Madam Chair, Honorable Minister of TIAT, the last time we were here, I made mention of certain answers received, and I could see when those wasn't yours or you wasn't comfortable, and maybe to the fact that, again, you were not here. I realized one of your answers didn't sit right with me at all, through you, Madam Chair, which was the health levy. And you, through you again, Madam Chair, listed the negative impacts and then at the end said, we'll see what the chair said. Kind of contradictory, same government and even the same party. The Minister of Finance has stated she's definitely on board and has actually listed this health levy as one of the revenue generating factors for this government. Through you, Madam Chair, I'd like to say to the Minister of TIAT, sometimes we get answers from our support staff, and when their vision doesn't align, they try to create a negative impression. The study which I spoke about was transferred. It's in the entire legislation that is now at the SED, and it was actually said that we can go up to $35. And what we were opting to do was go to 15. Everywhere around us, we are seeing these taxes, these levies being implemented, and I think that it definitely can help. And during this budget debate, I'm hearing CFT. Well, since CFT, they actually had liked the structure that was presented at the time when I was there. I would urge you to look into it and really, even if you have to suit it through you, Madam Chair, to fit your vision and the vision of the government now, just bring it. It is needed. The country needs it. And I'm pretty sure as Minister of Tourism, when I sat there as well, everything you hear was Aruba, 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 Aruba. And now we look, Aruba instituted it. And I think Aruba is actually $20. So we were still vying to be less than Aruba. So please, sometimes when we get the answers, I commended you when you wasn't here on your ability to push forward and get things done. Let's be sure. There are different means and ways. There's the health levy, of course. There's the hotel tax, which we spoke about, which at the time when we did have conversation with the hoteliers, they in turn did not mind an increase in the hotel tax rate. That's another option. And something which I knew when I was also in TIAT, the $1 safety fee, where I sent a letter to the airport via the COM stating that payment would have to start. Please let me know if it did start and is allocated in the budget. I see someone told me yes, but you can clarify. A couple of questions pertaining to the Causeway Bridge. Well, one of my colleagues asked, how much is the exact amount does the harbor pay towards the Causeway Bridge? How much does NVGEBE pay towards the throughput fee? Does any other company contribute to the payment of the Causeway Bridge? How much debt does the harbor presently have? What is owed for? How much does it pay towards loans in its entirety? And how much is the monthly burn rate? What is the annual maintenance cost of the Causeway Bridge? Who maintains the Causeway Bridge currently? What outstanding CapEx projects are still pending for TIAT, but particularly the harbor? Considering the FCCA and its members are leaning towards LNG, what is the harbor's position on being able to offer energy-related services to cruise industry? Now, this can not only save GEBE, but generate a revenue for us. I saw the Honorable Minister of TIAT in an article, but unfortunately, the company was moving towards what it was, Guadeloupe or whatever, because they're offering these services. So I do think it's time that we get on board and not be the last in an ever-changing world. Will a transfer of assets and debt from the harbor to the government help the port in any sort? Given the recent economic conditions, has there been any reevaluation on the port's capacity to manage financial risks, such as those posed by a natural disaster or pandemic? I ask this question, Madam Chair, through you, because in my capacity of Minister of VSI and discussions with CPS, it was stated that in the preparedness plan, we can estimate every 10 years a pandemic will be here. Every 10 years. It is in trajectory. Right now, we're 5 years off, 2019, so it's always good with preparedness, because if we look at the customary, about every 10 years, we are faced with some new pandemic. Also, is it still the interest of the port or part of the port, St. Maarten, to sell or enter discussions with Global Port? Is that still an interest, still a topic, still a discussion? The vending village, through you, Madam Chair. I need clarification then. What is the vending village? Where is it at this moment? And where is it intended to be moved? That will be all the questions that I have at this moment, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Otley. MP Myers, you have the floor.
Thank you and good afternoon, Madam Chair, to my colleagues here in Parliament, to the Honorable Minister of TIAT, radio listeners, those of you listening by social media, good afternoon. One of the questions that I asked Honorable Minister, I wanted to know the departure tax of all of the airports in the region. St. Maarten, of course, we know, Aruba, Antigua, Anguilla, St. Kitts and Curacao. I don't think you answered that one. And in the meantime, I've received the strategic plan, so thank you to the Honorable Chair of Parliament. She forwarded that to me, so thank you. I will review it. I always thought it was important to have a strategy, and not only a strategy, but to put things, an investment package, whereas when you go to these trade shows, when you trying to solicit persons to come and invest in your economy, that you have something that is concrete that you could you can offer. Whereas it does not come across in Parliament that when the persons on the executive branch do give some kind of incentive to investors, that is something nefarious. And it reminds me of the whole casino licensing thing back in the day. The government commissioned then it was Coopers and Lebrun then, to do a study on the casino industry, and subsequently one of the proposals that they came up with that any hotel that has 200 or more hotel rooms comes in automatic aanmerking for a casino license. So that's not a discussion on the floor of Parliament anymore, because it's put in a package that when you're going to invest, this is what you get. And I think the same should be done for local investors, where local investors, to a certain parameter, be given a tax holiday as well. And I think that will put a balance between what a foreign investor invests and a local investor, but it also makes the local man, the proverbial small man, feels like government is doing something on their behalf. I asked the Minister of Romy a question last week, And I think it's important to ask you as Minister of Economic Affairs, through you, Madam Chair, is what is the economic impact that the power outages of GB had on our country? Because the same small businesses and the same local businesses that we talk about was gravely affected by these constant power outages. And one of the things I hear a lot of, budgets are projected, and one of the questions that I ask, it's a projection, it's a prediction. And in particular, we heard a lot of that during the conversation regarding ENIA. All of the proposals are a projection. The question that I have to ask, is the budget a projection, yes or no? Is it a projection? Because one of the questions I also asked, how many cuts were there in the budget that was approved in March? In which the Minister of Finance came back and said there were no cuts. So which led me to believe that it was a projection and the budget fell short of its expectation. Hence cuts now. I just wanted to get a feel for it so I could understand and help the people to understand, because when we are in these public debates and we're having these meetings, sometimes we as members of Parliament, and I'm guilty as charged as well sometimes, we give the impression that the coffers are full and they're just, the funds are already there. So for the taking, a budget is a projection as to the income that you think you are going to receive based on the income that you received last year, based on your income generating areas that you received in previous years. So I just wanted to make that clear. I don't have any other questions for you, Madam. Through you, Madam Chair, to the Minister. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Myers. MP Kotai, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also, like MP Myers, would like to echo a sentiment that I mentioned when the Minister of Romy was here. How are we prioritizing the beautification of Philipsburg? And another thought that came to my head, I just remember to ask about the EDC. If I'm not mistaken, through you, Madam Chair, there was a director. What was accomplished during his tenure, and what is the financial status of the EDC? And that would be it for me, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MP Kotai. MP York, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Piggybacking off what my colleague MP Myers said a while ago brought me to the following. A couple of years ago, about a decade ago and a couple of years ago, there were various studies done by VSA, the Ministry of VSA, on the state of affairs of gambling addiction on the island. And it was made clear numerous times that St Maarten suffers from a gambling addiction problem. Given, for example, the example used a while ago by the good MP of hotels that automatically has 200 or more rooms, automatically falls in the category of being allowed to have a casino license. What are the ministers, the honorable ministers' sentiments on that law? Because basically, as co-legislators, we are here to either make, amend, or repeal laws. And if there are undeniable evidence that St Maarten suffers from a gambling addiction, and we have more of these entities being built by the year, what are the ministers' sentiments moving forward as it pertains to the law that stands as entities of 200 or more rooms automatically apply or falls under the category of being able to have a casino license? Thank you.
Thank you, MP York. MP Otley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'd just like to revert back to the same thing on my colleague, MP Myers, where he spoke of the projections and telling the public exactly what a budget is. And this refers back to my point exactly why I am very critical of the big change in having GEBE just placed into the